Hi, and welcome to Sunshine Startups Live. I'm investor, entrepreneur, and startup enthusiast Jim Ryan, broadcasting from Emerge Americas in Miami. This is terribly exciting, and of course, I'm joined here in Miami with my good friend and colleague, Dr. John Wensby. John, great to be with you, and so exciting, isn't it?
Great to be back with you, my friend. I'm so happy that we took this show on the road. This is just amazing. The energy, the buzz of Emerge Americas, the 10th anniversary. This podcast that we're about to go into is very special for me because we have a guest with us and his lovely wife sitting in the audience recording us right now on her phone. Newlyweds.
Oh, wow.
The most amazing wedding that I've ever been to in my life. Still talking about it.
We could do a whole separate podcast on a recap of the wedding, it sounds like.
Oh, we could. And you don't know this, but you got a guitar aficionado. This guy knows how to steal a room with a guitar on stage. But let's go with the introductions and take it from there.
Well, we might break into song here today, too. Who knows? That might be a first on our podcast. But, you know, terribly exciting. You know, we're talking to a lot of startups. We're talking to people in venture capital. We're talking to people that are helping support and foster the ecosystem here in South Florida for startups. Really excited to have Eric Levin, who is a successful entrepreneur, investor, and I know Eric and John are going to really dig into his bio. But Eric, thanks for being on the podcast today.
Sure, my pleasure. Happy to be here.
And this is your first podcast.
This is my first podcast. It is. I am excited. Thank you for having me. This is great, and I'm happy to be here with my new wife, Jessica, who is a rock star in her own right. She is a PhD psychologist specializing in entrepreneurs, so we feel right at home here at Emerge.
The innovation psychologist.
Oh, well, we may have to have her on a special, unique podcast as well. So, Eric, share with our audience, because John has obviously a background with you and understands a lot on your bio, but, why don't you share with us a little bit about, your background in being an entrepreneur, being an investor, and so forth?
Sure. So I come from a family. My dad was an entrepreneur, and my grandfather also. So I grew up in a small city, Reading, Pennsylvania, but I moved to Baltimore. From there, I went to the University of Pennsylvania, and I got my MBA from Emory. But I joined my dad. He bought a business down here. It was a beer distributorship. So we sold beer, a lot of beer. So it was a great company. We worked together for about 20 years and worked with my brother. And we had a great time. We grew that business. It was actually, we bought it almost out of bankruptcy. So we really grew it. And we represented great brands, Heineken, Corona, Miller Lite, Coors Light, sold all over South Florida. So we handled all the local logistics and marketing and storage, and it was wonderful. Entrepreneurs from a family of entrepreneurs. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot from my dad, and after we sold that business, we did well. We sold it to another family. I looked around for another business to buy, and I launched into something completely different, which is a group of John Deere dealerships. So now I own a group of John Deere dealerships. It's done well. I've been involved for the last 7 years. And we've doubled the size of the business. We've tripled the EBITDA. And it's been a great ride. And, entrepreneurship is all about reinvention, looking for new opportunities. I didn't know anything about agriculture or heavy equipment, but I saw a good opportunity because John Deere really understands technology. And they're doing some amazing and innovative things. And really happy to talk more about that, but I've been really pleased with this investment. I do other investing. That's why I'm here, looking for other, mostly climate tech and ag tech, to be honest. I think those are really big areas of growth, especially climate tech in Miami and ag tech all over, really. But the John Deere business is my biggest business right now.
So entrepreneurship's in the DNA. You got the family background. You did the beer thing. Do you drink a lot of beer?
I went through a lot of beer. So yeah, I started when I was 26 and ended, I was almost in my mid 40s. So yeah, that's sort of prime beer drinking times.
I was gonna say he was an easy hand raiser for new product testing.
Yeah. and beer kind of went through a revolution back then. You know, when I started, it was mostly the big brands, Coors, Heineken, Miller Lite, Coors Light. But then the microbrews really hit, and we just a proliferation of beers. And it was exciting. It was a really exciting time. And, you know, we were proud of all the brands that we carried. And you talk about entrepreneurs. I mean, these small breweries, I mean, they were amazing to work with. Really innovative, really creative. We really got along well.
As you got into the John Deere business, it reminds me of a story. I was just sitting here thinking about something from my childhood lives. John Deere. I remember I got my first Dear John letter. It's not you, it's me. You know, broke my heart. But it's a fascinating business that you're in. The heavy equipment, which is a complete deviation from alcohol, and the both don't go well together. So you've been very successful with this business, among other things. And one of the things that I love about successful entrepreneurs is they understand the ecosystem. They give back to the community, and you do a lot of things to give back to the entrepreneurial community. Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like, whether it's funding, whether it's mentoring, other things?
Sure. So, for example, Jessica and I just got involved with Endeavor, and they asked us to help put together something on mental health. You know, I'm sort of the sidekick of Jessica on that one. She's definitely taking the lead. But, you know, anytime we can get involved with helping budding entrepreneurs, being a mentor, being a resource, I'm happy to do it.
See what's happening behind you right now? We have a robot that's visiting the set.
We have a new sidekick.
The beauty of Emerge, you never know when a robot's going to come by and say hi.
All right. So based upon everything you're doing with Endeavor, which is a great initiative, what are you seeing here in the South Florida innovation ecosystem? When I say, instead of talking about tech hubs, I like to talk about the innovation ecosystem, because it's innovation, it's technology, it's entrepreneurship. And there's a lot of things that have been happening over the last 5 years and the next 5 years. What does that entrepreneurial community look like right now? And do you see anything that's missing that we need to do to accelerate success here in South Florida?
So I know you're involved with NOVA, and I've gotten pretty involved with University of Miami. One of the things that I'm helping to fund is their Climate Resilience Academy. And I know that, you know, the universities have gotten more involved with entrepreneurship. Traditionally, it was something that wasn't considered very academic. You know, they were more focused on traditional English, math, you know, subjects. But now entrepreneurship within universities, I see, has really begun to take off. And, you know, certainly University of Miami has embraced this concept of teaching entrepreneurs, teaching students with using real world issues, not just academic notions in the classroom that don't really have any real world practicality, but it's all about problem solving and using climate as a platform for that. They're really excited about it. I'm really excited to help fund that. And we just hired a new executive director. He's amazing. We brought him in from the Rockefeller Foundation. And, you know, so I think the ecosystem now is being supported by universities. I like that. I think there's other large organizations that are getting behind entrepreneurs as well. I just heard that Miami-Dade County has a climate tech hub.
Yes,
through the county. I mean, that's one of a kind in this county, I think in the country. So government, universities, other foundations, I think they're all getting behind the ecosystem because they see something really inspiring and something that will be, you know, recurring revenue and recurring jobs, you know, that'll bring a lot to the community.
So you mentioned about that there's something inspiring there. So, as you're looking around, and obviously Emerge is here, you know, what are you seeing? What excites you about ag tech, climate tech, and then what are potential applications that sort of you see in the potential horizon that might be interesting to either get into that business or to help fund that business?
Well, I think climate is the climate challenge. It's the challenge of our lifetime. I mean, we have to get climate right, or especially in South Florida, because unfortunately we're at the nexus of three pretty tough issues, which is sea level rise, extreme weather events, and extreme heat, which doesn't get a lot of press, but it's a big problem. So to have these entrepreneurs come in and try to preserve this community, help this community, bring jobs and resources to this community, I think it's a win-win for everyone. Certainly, I love Miami. I want it to be here.
You want it to stay above water.
I want it to stay above water. And I want to save the sections that are at risk.
So if you think about your next journey and what you've done through the phases of your life, what's next? What do you see the future looking like from an entrepreneur perspective for yourself?
Well, if that's a good question. So I think in the next round, and I love my business, but ultimately I think it's going to be sold someday. I think it's, there's sort of a runway, and ultimately I will sell. And then you do ask the question, what's next? I would love to get, to find some new companies to invest in. I like sort of more mature businesses, beer, John Deere, they've been around for 150 years. But, this community is beginning to, the entrepreneurs here, they're inspiring. So I would like part of my time to be spent, helping out some companies, maybe being on the board, being an advisor, being an investor. So, and spending time with my new wife, of course.
That's most important.
There's my future right there.
Happy spouse, happy house for sure.
Right.
Terrific. And Eric, I want to thank you so much. I know you're busy. I know you're seeking out some potential opportunities here at Emerge. Eric Levin, successful executive entrepreneur and venture capitalist. Thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. You guys are great.
Hey, congratulations on your very first podcast. You are a natural.
Oh,
you got a future.
Thanks.
Remember to subscribe, like, and share the Sunshine Startups Live podcast and follow us on social media. If you're interested in sponsoring or appearing on the show, please email us at booking@sunshinestartups.live.